Hello, my name's Niranjan, the host of Master of Your Crafts podcast, learning from leaders who are continuously inspired, passionate, and driven to align with their soul purpose, sharing their gifts to bring healing to others. The music is composed by Rebecca Everett. Today is episode number 134, and I had the pleasure of talking to Genevieve Piturro, a TEDx speaker, 7-time award-winning Amazon bestseller author, and the founder of the Pajama Program, a national organization she started after a life-changing moment with a young girl in a homeless shelter. A former TV executive, Genevieve shifted her life's direction to focus on purposeful leadership, writing 2 books on embracing purpose and launching a legacy, including Purpose, Passion, and Pajamas and Purpose, and Passion with Moxie. She has featured on major platforms like Oprah, Today, CNN, and Forbes, and is passionate about teaching others to lead with meaning and create lasting impressions. I trust you'll enjoy this conversation and garner some wisdom from her leadership expertise in this national organization she supported and created to support leadership and purpose with passion. Enjoy the conversation. Hello and welcome to Genevieve. How are you, Genevieve?
I'm fine. Thank you so much for this invitation.
You're welcome. I'm curious and excited and want to share with the world your experience in not only writing your books and creating this amazing program, The Purpose Passion of Pajamas, and the whole story around that, but also to showcase your intention and your desire to make the world a better place to a certain degree by supporting children and giving them the opportunity to thrive in life.
That wasn't my plan, but boy, am I glad that my life took that turn.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, we plan for something else, but something greater and bigger always has a different plan for us. So, yes, I agree. I agree. So, share with me a little bit about what is it you believe about yourself, having been through a path and a journey within your lifespan that defines who you are today.
Well, that's an excellent question because I'd say today the something I've learned is that we need to trust ourselves. I learned how to trust myself, that
Mhm.
voice that, sometimes we hear and we push aside because it's not what we were taught or we're already on a path. And what is this, something challenging the life I'm leading? We just sort of stuff that down. And I think I learned because of a moment that I had climbing the corporate ladder. I was in 12 years in New York City,
That's right.
working in TV business as an executive. And it's what I thought I wanted. And I worked really hard for those 12 years of climbing that ladder until one day a voice asked me, a voice in me asked me, if this is the next 30 years of your life, is this enough? And it changed everything. And it led me to a brand new path I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
And it led me to a visit to an emergency shelter, a little girl, and a whole new life starting Pajama Program, and a story that thankfully changed my life and so many others. So I learned from that one voice that I took a chance on that that's our North Star. That's what we should be listening to.
Yeah. But what a turn of events that took you to realize that and to have it to a certain degree be so loud that it we listen to it.
Yes, it became louder and louder. So, a recap, I heard that voice and I realized that I was working so hard and I was in my mid 30s and I was single and alone because I was a workaholic, but that's what I thought I wanted, that life. And when I heard that voice, I realized that I would be alone in 30 years. And I had not paid attention to my parents, love and nurturing to be, a mom and to get married and have kids. And I didn't pay attention to that. But when I realized I would like to have children, a rich part of my life, I started reading in emergency shelters, and I met these children who were, in harm's way and had been taken out of those really dangerous situations and were safe now, but feeling lonely and lost and not having a place to call home anymore. And I was reading bedtime stories to them, and I saw them going to sleep in their clothes. And it was so foreign to me, and to the way my mom, put our pajamas on. Our bedtime was so beautiful. So I brought pajamas for them one night, and a little girl was so afraid to take anything from me. And she was never, she never spoke or anything. And I tried to give her pajamas, and she just looked at me and asked me, "What are pajamas?" And that voice was louder than my inner voice, and her little meek voice penetrated through me. And it really drove me so far from what I thought I wanted, right to where I belonged.
Mm. How challenging must have that been for you to witness it, not only to stark contrast of how you've been raised, but to see that and see that fear in that little girl.
It was emotionally a jolt. I still think about it, and I remember being in that moment 4 years ago. And it was just, I didn't even think I heard her right, because I couldn't imagine she would, pretty much whisper to me, "What are pajamas?" And I had to explain to her without my voice shaking, because I
Mm.
didn't want her to think she'd done something wrong or asked me something she shouldn't have, because she was already so afraid and so timid to speak up. And I found myself listening to myself explaining pajamas to a little girl who was about 6 years old. And I just couldn't stop thinking about her. I mean, part of me wanted to just grab her and run and take her, to my home. And that's how I remained, feeling for a very long time to this day, that these children deserve so much more. They have a right to everything I had, and more, and we take it for granted. And
Mm.
it took me a long time to understand this world and my responsibility in it. And this was a gift to me. That question I asked myself, that was the door opening to me discovering my purpose and bringing so many people into this world who felt the same way. This is not right. She can't be this lonely. These children deserve love, and they should not be a moment without it. And the least we can do is wrap our arms around them at
Right.
bedtime when they're the most vulnerable. And the pair of pajamas were all we could give in that time to these children. And
Mm.
it proved to be really give them a feeling of love.
Yeah. Well, it's even if it's just a snippet of it in that moment, it's something that they will ultimately carry through their day,
I pray that's true.
right? Ultimately, we know that for ourselves as adults, when there is an element, um, a gifting of love from somebody else or to ourselves, it changes our day. It changes our mood, it changes our stance and how we move through the world. So, with children being so impressionable and sponges of their external environments, then we must believe that it's going to influence them in how they move forward in life.
Yes, I believed, a lot of it because it was such an instinct and went so deep in me that I felt that it had to be true, was part of me. So, yes, like you're saying, a smile from a stranger, a kind word, a kind
Mhm.
deed, a pair of pajamas.
It all
Somebody
makes,
cares, somebody sees you, somebody wants to hold you.
that's right, all makes a difference. So that's quite the stark contrast in having a very successful career in in TV, in that whole space of behind the screen, if you will, or maybe above in front of the screen, it's what was the differentiation factor for you, having had such a fulfilling career in that space, to now tapping into giving this to children, not only from the vantage point of what you had witnessed and what you was potentially missing out on, all the love that you was receiving, but maybe not acknowledging from your own parents and your own family and your own circle. How does that shift that element of fulfillment for you? Because I'm sure that 30-year career was very fulfilling for you and driven in that perspective. How did that shift in what you're doing now?
Right, right. Well, it was 13 years, which felt like 30 years, but it
Oh,
was 13 years of climbing the corporate ladder, which was exciting, and because I'd always thought that would be a wonderful life, I thought that was, my life, and it
mhm,
was busy and exciting. And at that time, I loved it because I didn't know what being fulfilled or finding purpose meant.
mhm,
But once I had this deep sense of wanting to change things, make things better for her and these children,
mhm,
I slowly discovered the word purpose. And I realized that that feeling was here. And it's for all of us here, not here. The
right.
workaholic excitement, this is, I'm successful, was here.
Yes.
But now it wasn't success for me. It was something I wanted to do from the depths of my heart to make a difference in this world and to wrap my arms around all these children. It felt like a small thing, but it really turned out to be more of an impact than I could have imagined, because sharing that story that I shared with you with so many people, I discovered they felt that loneliness in her. It was like I was a channel
Mhm,
for her question, and more people wanted to be part of the solution.
mhm.
And that's when I realized we can be a voice that moves the world. We can do something that impacts the greater good.
Right, right. And it's quite a feat to take on. It's commendable that you've taken on such a big challenge to have children witness this across America and hopefully across the world too. That's it's quite a bold statement.
Well, I never thought of it that way, because every day I was just bringing more pajamas to more children. I wasn't looking at the big picture. I was looking at the list of children who were waiting for pajamas and my daily act of shopping
Right.
but bringing them and then
Yes.
answering the phones and getting other people who wanted to help. I never saw the grand picture, at least not
Mm,
for many years,
right.
until I realized people were coming from far to help. And that's, looking back, I realized that I was the instrument for others to feel that they felt their heart too and wanted to take action.
Right. Right. What do you feel were some of the attributes that you maybe redefined for yourself, repositioning yourself in this space? Because I think perhaps they are different from working in the corporate career. But
Mhm.
you tell me, what was it that connected you to your purpose? What were those attributes for you?
I can answer that. Heart and moxie.
Mm,
In business, at least when I was in my career, and I think for many of us of my generation, starting to look for a career and working for a boss and working at a job, um, you didn't put your heart out there. You didn't wear your heart on your sleeve. It wasn't
right.
emotional. You did your job. Hopefully moved forward with responsibility, and you were looked at as successful.
Hmm.
And when I started, from the moment I started reading to those children, it was my heart leading, not my brain leading.
Right.
And to this day, I lead with my heart, and it's become easier. But at first, it was foreign. But I
Sure.
found my heart, and I listened to it, and it now leads me, and my head follows my heart.
Beautiful.
And Moxie, I never knew anything about starting a nonprofit. I didn't even know it was a nonprofit until I saw what was happening and realized. And I knew nothing about starting it or the legal aspects, the financial aspect. I knew nothing. And I just jumped in. Somehow I found my moxie, my grit, my persistence, my determination, and I just wouldn't stop. And, many times I thought, am I crazy? I went into debt, everything changed. It was, I went through hardships and all of that
Sure.
I'd never planned or, can't imagine how I survived. But
Mhm.
it's moxie, and that's the word that I like to use because
Yeah.
that to me means a combination of whatever it takes to get there.
Yes. Yes, definitely. We definitely need a lot of that, especially tapping into a world where there is no precursor, if you will. There's no preamble as to what you're really getting into, especially in the business standpoint. It can lead to very challenging situations for sure. For
Mm.
sure. What are your intentions with the craft that you have learned, be it the moxie, be it the determination, be it all of this? Yes, there's an end goal there in supporting these children and having them have much more emotionally fulfilling lives and connection with self. What is your intentions with what you have learned and earned during this time going forward?
Well, I was the executive director of Pajama Program. That's what I founded it. That's what I called it, Pajama Program. And after 20 years of daily working as the executive director, I realized that there was a lesson here that other people were interested in how to be a voice that moves the world and how to take that moxie and that heart and do what you're meant to do here in this life. So I passed the baton of executive director, and now I teach and speak on how to be a voice that moves the world and how to embrace your heart and trust your heart and use it as your North
Yes.
Star, and how to discover that if you look inside, the real meaning of your life comes from impacting others in a positive way and making a change and being a leader and having a vision that speaks to other people and attracts them to help you reach a goal and reach it together so that you're leaving a legacy that will remain in other people's hearts,
Mm.
forever. So I teach and speak on that now for business leaders because that's the lesson I learned, that if you had asked me 25 years ago, I would have never understood
Yeah.
what how deep and rich that is. But I think we're all discovering that for ourselves now with various things happening in the world, coming
Too.
through a pandemic, and still trying to figure out now how to find joy and peace.
Yeah.
And the new leadership that we need is about serving.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, based on what your intentions are going forward, what would you say are some key markers or things that individuals, aspiring leaders, or individuals in the corporate space can be mindful of, can tune into to recognize that they may need to tap further into their hearts?
Mhm, mhm. I think follow your heart, which means first accept that your heart is as powerful as, if not more powerful than your mind,
Mhm.
because it always knows the right thing. It always knows what's best for you, and it always will lead you to a result that feels right. And in time, although it will fight with your head will say, you've done this all along. Why are you moving? You're changing things. Why are you going to put yourself in that risky position and be vulnerable? But if you continue and persist, your heart will lead, and then your brain, because it is smart, will help the heart. So
Mhm.
it reverses the authoritative position there, and the heart will
Right.
go. Second, to understand that integrity is going outside of yourself.
Mhm.
What is your real goal? Is your real goal to be rich? Is your real goal to be helping so many people and being rich, which is a wonderful thing? More
Mhm.
power to you. You can make a good living and
Right.
serve others.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that at all. I think we all would like to have both.
Yep.
And embracing the human connection. We are afraid to share. We're afraid to talk about our vulnerabilities. We're afraid to ask for help. I was in that position. I didn't want anyone to know what I didn't know. I was embarrassed to tell that halfway through a career, I was going to just drop it all and do this other thing. And I had a mortgage. How was I going to pay my mortgage? I didn't have an
Mm-hmm.
answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I think once you embrace the human connection, you realize that there are more people who want to help. There are
Yeah.
more people who have been there who you didn't know they were, grappling with what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And there's more camaraderie, but we don't know that because we're reluctant to share.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's perhaps that's a learned behavior as we
Mhm.
go through the institutional world in how to behave and move through the world.
Mhm.
What do you feel was perhaps one of the harder components for yourself to truly identify that this is my heart talking? It's not an ego part of myself. It's not connected to a belief system or an element of acceptance from somebody else, but this is truly something from my heart that is speaking to me a little bit louder, and I'm connecting to another version or another aspect of my heart that I might have been operating on while I'm in the corporate space.
I think the consistent feeling I had of this is this is peace to me. Even though I was running ragged and I was nervous wreck, there was a feeling of peace that I was living in my own skin. This
Right.
was right for me. And I think because I was so afraid that nobody would understand or help, and I was afraid for my financial situation, it's still the bottom line was still, but this is the right thing. This feels like me. And that kept me going every step of the way. And as long as I embraced that and I accepted that and I wanted that, things started to fall into place. Not to say it was always easy,
Right.
because I don't ever want to give anybody the
No.
idea that you just dropped what you were doing because you had, an idea that you wanted to be an opera singer. But once you make that decision, that commitment, you will find that things move in a rhythm that brings you closer to, and closer to what you need next, the person you need. And it's how we're supposed to live.
Mhm.
But most of us don't know that. And until
Right.
we experience it, we don't believe that.
Yes. Yeah. Because we're conditioned to push against the current
Yes,
in
that's
so
the
many
word.
ways. That's
That's the
right.
word. Right. We're
Mhm.
pushing instead of flowing.
That's right. Rather than allowing and leaning into the trust within our own intuition that some people may have really developed or not, but we all have it. So it's leaning into that and allowing it to come forward. Hmm. Hmm. So with the program, the program
Program.
that you have, yeah, where does that lead right now? Because yes, you've stepped away and doing the speaking engagement and supporting individuals in that leadership role of driving their own passion forward. Do you still
Pajama program is
participate?
thriving. I'm sorry.
Hmm. Hmm. Yep, go
Pajama
ahead.
program is thriving. I passed the baton to Jamie Dice, who was one of the presidents of our board, and she's taken it on. It's been almost 5 years, 4 or 5 years,
Yeah,
and we're growing. And I love speaking about it, telling the story, and
yes.
just demonstrating how an act from your heart can grow and other people can be attracted to you and want to be part of the solution. And
Yes.
I think it's just it's a beautiful testament to the work she's doing and to the premise of the program and to our innate desire to want to put our arms around each other.
Hmm. It's important. It's important because the adage of we it takes a village to raise a child. It very much is in that instance, even more so because they come from tumultuous backgrounds and experiences. So that makes it even harder. What are your aspirations and maybe your inspiration for you to move forward in supporting others on their path and journey to tap into that heart space and tap into a greater purpose and a greater calling for what they could potentially fulfill in their lives?
Well, I'm inspired so much by how many people in the last couple of years want to make a change. Some want to make a change and start a nonprofit, and the ideas are incredible and generous and beautiful and unique because we've all come across problems and sadnesses and
Yeah,
issues that touch us deeply, and we feel like we want to be part of fixing that and helping those people. So the ideas of that I hear from people who are asking, for an hour to just talk about their idea and is it crazy or not, I'm really inspired by all of these people who have that, who want to make that change in their
sure.
life. And if they're not ready to jump out of their career, they still want to do this on the side.
Yeah.
So I think that those who are starting something to give back is beautiful. And equally beautiful are the people who say, you know what, I've spent 20 years in law or 20 years, as doing something, and now I want to change because I've always wanted to be that opera singer. I've wanted to be a
Mhm.
veterinarian. I've wanted to build houses. And,
Right.
I went into bookkeeping because somebody told me it was lucrative.
Right.
And that's
Right.
great. It's all
Yes.
great. And I think it's all commendable and it's all heart driven.
Yeah. And it is, it takes a lot of courage to step out into an unknown space that we're not familiar with. So
Mhm.
I commend you for your journey on that, but also supporting others on theirs too.
Mm.
So what's next? What's next for you, other than being in a place of supporting and empowering others on their journey? Is there another spark? Is there another heart-driven purpose that you want to drive further in for
Um,
yourself?
there's a third book. So I've written two. I wrote the first one about the journey and the lessons, the heart of the matter lessons at the end of every chapter, and that's purpose, passion, and pajamas. And then because so many people have been wanting to start nonprofits, I did purpose, passion, and Moxie, how to start a
Mm,
nonprofit. That's a workbook. And now I want to do one about how to be a voice that moves the world, because I know we need those voices now. We need those people with integrity to come outside of what they want for themselves alone and make an impact, care about the legacy they leave
mhm.
and just really move the world, move us closer to each other.
Yes. Well, I'm excited to see what nuggets of wisdom and stories you'll be able to share in that book. I'm sure it'll be of great value to those who choose to read it and look for more purpose and more passion in their life. So thank you for that. But I also want to thank you for sharing your stories and sharing your nuggets of wisdom that you have garnered over the years that weren't very easy, no doubt, to go through. But however, we reap the benefits of your life lessons. So thank you for sharing your story.
My pleasure. Thank you again for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you. I'm Naranjan, and you've been listening to Master of Your Crafts podcast. Please subscribe, rate, and review, and join me next week for another episode. Thank you for listening.